Kayla King, and welcome back to my channel. Or if you're new, welcome. I had my doubts about whether this writing vlog would actually be posted, in part because I wasn't sure I would be able to write. But instead of letting this footage fall away, I made myself a promise that I would end the vlog as soon as I found my way back to line edits for my WIP. What follows are 9 days of submissions, decisions, spooky reads, self-care, and at long last, the return to my WIP. This day started out with the intention to rework the opening of Chapter 5. I had already started edits on this, but upon reading it back, it still didn't feel right. That morning, I packed up my editing binder, my new business cards, a zippered pouch with Post-its and a mask, chapstick and hand sanitizer, etc. I added my sunglasses case, as it looked like the sun might peek through the clouds that morning. Then my journal and blue Papermate flare tip pen, and of course, my Hufflepuff lanyard and keys. After all, I had an adventure planned. Hello, it's a little after 10 on Sunday morning, and I'm getting ready to drive to my favorite coffee shop, and I have Wicked queued up, and I am headed out. Though I didn't record any footage, the coffee was wonderful, as was catching up with a friend I hadn't seen in too many weeks. We talked about life and writing and mindfulness and the Elpis Pages and poetry and our costumes for Halloween. I drank a dirty chai and loaded a ukulele into the back of my car for a young girl who would be over the moon for the new to her instrument. On the way home, I finished listening to my favorite songs from Wicked, then Dear Evan Hansen. I didn't stop anywhere else to write. I was now too focused on returning home to submissions. I'd given myself the deadline of October 13th to have all responses sent to contributors. There were still several self-identifying women with work on womanhood that I had yet to review for my upcoming collective, the Elpis Pages. You can learn more about this submission process in Part 2 of the Editor Diaries. But on this day, I had 33 pieces left to read. 2 flash fiction, 2 short stories, 1 novel excerpt, 1 essay, and 27 poems. And so I took my computer outside, allowed my dog Tux to join me, and I started to read. I made comments and edits and reread my favorite lines. I sent acceptances and had to send rejections. I moved the card for each author to its applicable list in Trello and waited, not so patiently, might I add, for those authors to confirm the acceptances. From this, I received some of the sweetest emails. For anyone who is not an editor, I can assure you that emails you send us in return are just as meaningful as any acceptance we might have received in the past. And I continued reading. During this time, my sister brought her puppy, Nugget, over, donning his Bills jersey in preparation for that night's football game. Since I am not a football fan, I continued reading. When it became too dark to sit outside, I changed into my Hogwarts sweatshirt and admired the Halloween decorations my mom had put out throughout the house earlier that day. As I've mentioned before, I absolutely love October and spooky season. Seeing the decorations meant I switched the location for finishing up the last of the submissions. Instead of sitting in my writing cave, I cozied up in our reading chair. It was from here that I finished the last submission of this reading period. It was hard to believe that I was done. And though I wanted to create the graphic to be posted on social media announcing that all decisions had been sent, at this point I was incredibly tired and had work the next morning. The day started with work. While I will often write on my lunch break, lately I have been using this time to create daily graphics for the Elpis Pages. Today was no different. I went into Canva using the template I created for reminders. I added the new words announcing that all decisions had in fact been sent for submissions, and I added fireworks in the background. This was a celebration, after all. I downloaded the photo and saved it to be posted later. Before the end of the workday, I made plans to meet up with my friends to rewatch Fleabag. This had become a topic of conversation as Halloween approached. This year, I will be dressing up as Season 2, Episode 1 Fleabag, jumpsuit and all. And by all, I do mean that the good friend from Sunday Coffee will be accompanying me as the hot priest. This was a costume I wanted for 2019, but befell the worst sinus infection / whatever it was for 6 weeks. Then 2020 happened. Needless to say, I refuse to give up hope on this costume. So I arrived, takeout in tow, and we talked. Life gets busy, and getting all 4 of us together has proven to be a challenge. As such, one friend was missing from that gathering. Unsurprisingly, with our crew, we did not end up watching Fleabag, spending the entire time catching up instead. I gave the girls my new business cards, which I will share with you here after the cover is revealed. One friend promised to leave some behind in her travels to Pittsburgh and Nashville. And if you live in either city, keep an eye out for an Elpis Pages themed Kayla King business card. We also brainstormed for the collective's release party. We got to do this last time around, and I wrote about it in a guest post. I'll leave the link for that in the description box below. I returned with a new canvas that has a photo of pages penned in pandemic outside of the library where it is available for borrowing. Before I left, I received a very exciting email from Gut Slut Press, accepting 2 of my poems for their Bone Milk anthology. And it was so nice to be able to share that news in the moment with my friends. The day started with work once again. However, on lunch, I worked on preparing the announcement for my acceptance. To do this, I went into Canva and used the template for announcements, adding a photo of bird bones inspired by one of my accepted poems. I used this on social media, but per my process, I also added it to the news section on my website, and I also added the publication name to my About section. And of course, I updated my submission spreadsheet. At this time, I had already emailed Gut Slut Press confirming that both poems were still available. That night, I worked on editing my Owl Crate unboxing video. Again, the day started with work. On lunch, I started reading Pumpkinheads by Rainbow Rowell as part of the spooky and festive books on this month's TBR. After working, I did need to run some errands and granted myself the grace of a short trip to Barnes & Noble as Alice Hoffman's last book in the Practical Magic series was published the day before. So I went into Barnes & Noble for 1 book and ended up with 4. I don't know how that happened. In my defense though, the other 3 were 50% off, so I got The Broken Wish by Julie C. Dow, Bestiary by K. Ming Chang, Conjure Women by Afia Atakora, and the loveliest of them all, The Book of Magic by Alice Hoffman. I'm so excited to read this book. Since the weather is still nice, we decided to take our pups for a walk. I always walk Tux, but somewhere in the distance, our baby bear was choosing the route of this adventure with my mom as his co-pilot. And once again, I did not return to the page. Instead, I cozied up in bed with Pumpkinheads, thinking I'd read a few chapters of this graphic novel. Instead, I read the whole thing. It was festive and sweet, and I will be sharing the recommendation with my favorite young reader, Cecilia. Alas, after reading most of this book in one sitting, I was ready for bed. The day started with promise. At lunch, I created a graphic for my unboxing video using my template in Canva and the thumbnail photo I'd already created. I posted that video and shared it on social media and the news section of my website. When this was complete, I returned to researching for event spaces for the collective's release party. I had started on lunch that day, but sent the possible contenders to one of my friends who will be assisting with this process. She is my event guru. We then took the dogs for another walk. On the way back, however, I started to feel under the weather. By the time we returned home, I needed to curl up on the couch and rest. Waking up, I still felt under the weather. It was around 6:30 a.m. I fed my dogs and assisted my mom with Tux's insulin injection, as he is diabetic and requires this twice a day. After alerting my managers online, I'm still working from home, I returned to bed. I slept until 10:45 a.m., which is so late for me, but I listened to what my body needed. I curled up on the couch with a cup of coffee and oatmeal and water and a body armor for electrolytes, and I brought the price guide to the occult as I was eager to dive back into that fictional world. Baby Bear joined beside me while Tux laid at my feet on the couch, and I read and napped and read and napped. However, I did not write. Though much of this morning was spent continuing to rest, I did find some energy and excitement when the mail arrived. The first package contained the maroon t-shirt featuring the Where My Witch Is At design I made for the Elpis Pages. This is still available for purchase, and the link for this specific shirt will be in the description box below. I can't wait to wear this shirt beyond October, but it is certainly perfect for this spooky season. Next, a pink envelope boasted the arrival of my custom bracelet from Little Words Project. I absolutely love this company. It is woman-owned and reminds us all that words are important. What's more, they're always giving back. And I'm excited to announce that I will be collaborating with Little Words Project for 1 week in November. I've designed a bracelet inspired by the Elpis Pages. And during this week, Little Words Project will donate 25% of all proceeds to the Planned Parenthood Action Fund, the same organization where I will be donating proceeds following publication of my new collective. I will be sure to leave the link for Little Words Project in the description box below. Inside this package, I found an envelope with more information about the project, which also included stickers, which you know I love and will definitely use. And of course, my custom bracelet featuring the word Elpis, with the unisex stone snowflake beads. This is not sponsored, by the way. I just really love this bracelet. It was $30 for the customization, and the finished product is stunning. It even has a unique number on the charm, so the bracelet can be registered on Little Words Project. Since the weather was lovely, I did take a short walk with our pups. The fresh air definitely did me some good. I spent the remainder of the day resting, watching iZombie, and also starting Maid on Netflix with my mom. And I'm sure it comes to no surprise, but I didn't write. Every Sunday, my parents take our youngest dog, Coda, also known as Bear or Baby Bear, on a car ride. He looks forward to this morning adventure all week and has a better sense of time than most humans I know. I usually try to either record another video for YouTube or get through some of my to-do list items, which typically involves writing. However, I was still feeling tired. I had my cup of coffee and I made oatmeal. I've developed a recent obsession with the Kind brand's apple cinnamon almond oatmeal, which I perfect by boiling water in my kettle, pouring over the top, and letting it steep. I resumed my place on the couch with Tux at my feet, and I returned to the price guide to the occult. I got more than halfway through this book, but alas, I still have a little bit left to finish. I took the rest of the day to relax, finishing Maid on Netflix. It was heartbreaking and inspiring and certainly worth a watch. And then I wrote, but it had nothing to do with my WIP. I opened my Bear app and started a new poem titled, The Last Adele Album Meant Leaving Your Apartment. You see, I listened to the first single from Adele's new album and was immediately taken back to the last time I heard a first single, snuggled up on a couch belonging to someone I used to be friends with but no longer have in my life. And the first time I listened to 25 in full, leaving my best friend's apartment on Bird, driving an hour home, I luxuriated in that album. I'm not sure where this poem is going to go, but for now, it consists of 133 words and the line, I could feel the curses thrust thrice upon my back, and I dared not stare because we'd both changed too much in the years since that last day. I really like the rhythm and alliteration contained in this line. Alas, the day ended, and in a full week, I didn't return to chapter 5, though I thought about it daily. The day started with work. I was feeling better. On lunch, I didn't write, but rather created a new tab on the spreadsheet for the Elpis Pages, which contained all the contributor names. I added their emails to make it easier to send to everyone at once. I knew I was going to be sending all my contributors an email with a timeline walking through the steps and exciting things happening on the way to publication in December. Before my break was over, I brainstormed about how I could fix the opening of chapter 5. And when I finished the workday, I knew it was time to return to the line edits for my WIP. I grabbed my editing binder and journal, MacBook, and ancient edition of the novel from Too Many Drafts Before. I snapped a photo to share the progress on social media, using a quote from a dear friend as my caption. As usual, I started the line edits, but looking back at my handwritten notes and edits to see if anything could be implemented or cut prior to making story changes. There weren't any this time around, as I'd already added them the last time I worked on the chapter. I looked back at my journal to make sure the game plan was fresh in my mind, and then I looked back at the novel to see where the chapter had started and where it ended originally. And then I began, making it over the hurdle of that opening that didn't feel right and now works so much better. I can't wait to finish this chapter, but at long last, I feel like I'm finally finished with this vlog. It certainly turned out different than I expected, but if I'm left with anything, it's this: listen to your body and your mind. For too long, I was obsessed with reaching goals and completing tasks and trying to do it all. The hustle and grind informed my self-worth. My perfectionism assured me I cared too much and that my existence could only be measured by my productivity. I was a Leslie Knope. I still love this character from Parks and Rec, but it took me many years to realize this wasn't an endearing character flaw that somebody was crafting into a fictional character. This was harmful to my body and my mind. I hated myself on the days when I didn't accomplish any work. I only saw value in what I achieved. So I suppose sharing this vlog, in which I mostly rest and take moments for self-care, I am reminding myself that worth is not determined by my accomplishments. I am worthy of this life because I am alive. Do I love writing and editing and crafting and so much more? Yes. Do I let those things define how I see myself? Sometimes. Let's face it, I'm still a work in progress. But often, the joy is in the trying, not so much in the doing. I hope this is something you'll remember long after this vlog. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and remember, no matter where the day takes you, dream big.